course, and we're talking about the strategy of a greenhouse environment, specifically the leadership development pathway. And we're asking the question, how does God develop a leader? How has He developed you up to this point on your journey? How has He used you to develop other people? And as we get into this, I told you a little bit of my story in the last session, and I'm going to go into a couple more specifics that I hope will be helpful. And as I do this, I'm going to be asking you to think about your own pathway. It's interesting that God grabs us at various times in our life, and it's sometimes when we least expect it, and sometimes when we seem to be even traveling away from Him. I've heard so many people that are great leaders now who God grabbed when He wanted to grab them just out of His grace, and He started them on a development process, and He managed to use everything in their lives and our lives, even the bad stuff, even the wrong stuff. As the theologian said, God can draw a straight line with a crooked stick, and He can use everything. It's amazing to me. In my own story, when God really grabbed a hold of me, I was a believer, but as I said in the last session, I really wasn't walking with the Lord. I was actually playing with a music group, and we were on a tour during a summer, and at the end of that tour, I was going to be moving down to Southern California, to Long Beach to go to college. I was, 20 years old at the time that this happened, and in this group, I did the auditions for other young people who wanted to be a part of it. I would sit at the keyboard, and after the concerts, they would come up, and I'd hear them sing and do a little audition, and that would be that, and I auditioned hundreds of people. Well, one particular night, we were a long way from California, and a young lady came up to the piano, and we did her audition, and then she said, "Hey, I live in Long Beach," and we got to chat, and I said, "Well, wow, I'm going to be going to Long Beach State," and she said, "You should come to my church when you get down there." And I thought, okay, yeah, whatever. And that was that. That's all I thought about it. We went on across the United States. We went on across Europe. Months later, I came back to my hometown of Northern and Central California, moved down to Southern California, and I thought, well, I should probably go find a church. I didn't remember this gal. I didn't remember any church that she was a part of. But I thought, well, I'll find some place close to my apartment because I didn't have a car. We didn't have Google Maps or anything back then, so I cracked open the Yellow Pages, looked for the closest place, went to it the following Sunday, walked into the college room, and in front of the room, greeting people right at the door, was this woman. And she said, "You're Dave. I've been praying all summer that you would find this place." What are the odds? Blew me away. Well, I stuck. And God did so many wonderful things in my life from that place, this place that became my greenhouse environment. And many of the things that I've shared and developed and thought about with greenhouses, a lot of that came from that time because it was so supercharged. They were so intent on developing leaders to help people discover their gifts, develop those gifts according to the seeds that God had placed in them, and then deploy those gifts into service. Now, some 35 years later, many of those leaders are still active. Many of them have planted churches. Many of them lead churches. Many of them have launched other leaders. The ministry of that one place continues. God got a hold of me at that time in my life. If you think about it, God uses people like this young lady, people like the ones who influenced me in this greenhouse environment. He uses circumstances. He used a music tour for me. He used me going to a phone book to find this place. God uses people, He uses circumstances in order to shape us to become the people that He intends for the purposes that He has. That's a little bit of my story, but let me ask you this. What did God use to shape you? When did He really get a hold of you? Maybe it's when you came to faith, or maybe it was a different time. Like me, I came to faith many years prior, but I wasn't really walking with the Lord, and then God stepped in, He intervened, and He grabbed me in grace. What did God use to grab you, to shape you? Who did God use in your life? Who were the people? Maybe you're thinking of some right now. What were the circumstances that God used? Think about that for a few moments, will you?